In 476 AD, the people of Rome did not wake up to the roar of a great explosion. Its marble walls did not crack under a sudden earthquake, nor did the sky fill with fiery gases. Yet in that year, the Western Roman Empire quietly came to an end, almost unnoticed. The hard-to-believe truth is that Rome did not fall in a single strike, nor was it defeated in a dramatic moment. It eroded slowly under the weight of its decisions. It collapsed gradually, like iron rusting drop by drop until it falls silently. At the height of its glory, Rome ruled vast lands, controlled trade routes, and possessed the strongest armies of its time. Romans believed their city was eternal and their power everlasting. And here precisely lies the danger. Every great empire that believes itself exceptional, that history's rules do not apply to it, is at risk. History does not recognize exceptions. It moves according to patterns that repeat, regardless of names and faces. By the 3rd century, the first cracks appeared. Wars along the borders increased, military spending ballooned, and the bureaucracy grew while the treasury gradually emptied. The state had to choose, either scale back ambitions or find a faster solution. Rome chose the easier path. The value of its currency, the denarius, once rich in silver, began to decline gradually. Each new coin contained less silver. At first, people did not sense the danger. Salaries were paid, markets functioned, life seemed normal. Yet something invisible was eroding: confidence. When confidence in money begins to shake, the entire economy trembles. Prices rose, trade slowed, and inflation spread like a heavy shadow over every transaction and salary. With each new crisis, the solution remained the same: mint more coins of lesser value. Rome entered a cycle with no escape. Empires do not collapse because they are poor. They collapse because they are burdened by debt. Debt gives the illusion of power, allowing spending today at the expense of tomorrow, but it binds the future in an invisible chain. Over time, this burden becomes unbearable. By the late Empire, Rome was spending vast sums simply to defend its sprawling borders. Every previous expansion became a permanent obligation, requiring constant funding. When maintaining the empire became costlier than building it, it was a clear sign that the era of rise had ended and the era of defense had begun. To ease public unrest, rulers offered bread and games, free food and grand entertainment to keep eyes busy and minds distracted from hard questions. Yet entertainment is no substitute for a failing currency. It does not fix a growing deficit. It only postpones the moment of reckoning. With each new financial crisis, the state expanded further, imposing higher taxes, issuing more laws, and enlarging the bureaucracy. Every administrative expansion required more funding, and higher taxes slowed production, reduced incentives, and shrank economic activity. Revenue declined, reliance on borrowing increased. It was a closed loop. Each attempt to escape in the same way only deepened the problem. The most dangerous moment was not when the enemy appeared at the gates, but when ordinary citizens lost confidence in the future. When money became unstable, prices shifted rapidly, and taxes crushed livelihoods, invasion ceased to be the real threat. It was only the final push for a body already weakened by long-term decisions. History does not repeat itself literally, but it moves in patterns: rise, prosperity, expansion, inflation and spending, accumulation of debt, and slow erosion of trust. It is not a mysterious curse, but human nature. When power is available, humans are tempted to test its limits. When a system appears stable, it is tempting to delay reforms. Power does not guarantee immunity. A state can be militarily strong, technologically advanced, and resource-rich, yet if it loses fiscal discipline and allows debt to exceed its ability to repay, it moves silently towards the edge of a cliff. Empires do not die suddenly or because of a single enemy. They recede when easy solutions are chosen over difficult decisions, when printing more becomes preferable to producing more, when postponing problems becomes a habit. History is not an old tale read for pleasure. It is a silent mirror reflecting human behavior patterns. Those who study it carefully may see warning signs early. Those who ignore it will realize too late that the collapse was not sudden. It was the result of a long process, beginning with a decision that seemed small, but carried within it the seed of the end. This leads us to the first chapter of Rome's slow decay. Dramatic turns appeared with the death of the philosopher-emperor Marcus Aurelius in 180 AD on the cold banks of the Danube. With his death, not only did the line of the 5 good emperors end, but the 2-century-long Pax Romana came to a close, and Rome began to slide into the catastrophic 3rd-century crisis. His son Commodus, seeing himself as a new Hercules, preferred gladiatorial spectacles over governance, destabilizing the imperial institution and opening the door to assassinations and violent military coups. With the rise of Severus Severus, a military leader from present-day Libya, the foundations of Rome's future financial collapse were set. Severus famously advised his sons, lavish gifts upon the soldiers and disregard the rest. This policy became the engine of rampant inflation. The denarius was progressively debased to pay the expanding army, turning the currency from a symbol of global sovereignty to worthless coins. Farmers in distant villages of Gaul and Britain stopped accepting money, reverting to primitive barter systems. By the mid-3rd century, more than 20 emperors had risen and fallen in 50 years, most killed by their own soldiers. Central authority in Rome had become a mere shadow, while Germanic tribes like the Goths and Franks watched the mighty giants stagger internally, untouched by any sword.
Amid this chaos, Emperor Diocletian attempted to save the sinking ship with radical reforms. Recognizing that the empire had become too vast for a single ruler from one capital, he implemented the Tetrarchy, dividing power among 4 emperors. But financing 4 imperial courts and armies required crushing taxation and strict economic controls. The Edict on Maximum Prices sought to freeze goods prices empire-wide, threatening execution for violators. The result was catastrophic. Goods disappeared, black markets thrived, and economic paralysis spread. Constantine the Great, after civil wars, solidified power at the Milvian Bridge, but dealt a fatal blow to Rome's centrality by founding a new capital, Constantinople, on the Bosporus. Wealth, brains, and the aristocracy moved east, leaving the Western Roman Empire a depleted shell. Taxes became tools of oppression. Small landowners fled debts, seeking protection under large landholders, sowing the first seeds of feudalism. Western Roman citizens began to feel that barbarian invaders might be kinder than their own relentless tax collectors. The Roman army transformed from citizen legions to Germanic mercenaries, loyal to pay, not ideology. The final shape of collapse emerged as the Great Migrations pushed by the Huns reached Europe. The curtain rose on the inevitable finale in the 5th century. By 378 AD, the Battle of Adrianople saw Emperor Valens killed by the Goths, shattering the army's prestige. A few decades later, in 410 AD, King Alaric sacked Rome for 3 days, the first time in 8 centuries that foreign feet had desecrated the Eternal City. The loss of North Africa, Rome's grain store, to the Vandals under Genseric cut off food supplies. Starvation gripped the city amid its cold marble statues. Western emperors had become puppets in the hands of Germanic military leaders like Ricimer, who appointed and deposed them at will. Finally, in 476 AD, the Germanic commander Odoacer saw no reason to maintain this charade. He deposed the young emperor Romulus Augustulus, whose name ironically combined Rome's founder and its first great emperor, and sent him into a quiet rural retirement. He sent imperial insignia and the purple mantle to the Eastern emperor, signaling that the West no longer needed a separate emperor. Thus ended the Western Roman Empire, not with an explosion, but with an administrative decree announcing the expiration of a system that had consumed all its moral and material resources. Rome fell because it lost the ability to convince its citizens that living under its umbrella was worth the sacrifice, because it replaced production with consumption, discipline with luxury, fiscal honesty with debt and illusions. Rome's story is the eternal lesson. Fortresses only fall when their foundations erode from within first, and even the greatest armies cannot protect a state whose people have lost faith in its future and economy. History does not spare those who assume power lasts forever without real, lasting reform. And so, the chapter of antiquity closed, and Europe began its long journey through the dark Middle Ages on the ruins of a grandeur that once believed the sun would never set on it.